Recording in progress. Hi, Darlene. Okay,
Hello.
first podcast, first show. Luminous Life is the podcast name. And I am interviewing Darlene Shokin today. And she is an Indigo mentor. She was a teacher for 26 years, teaching preschool. So she went from teaching young kids into healing work. So they're kind of symbiotic, of course. But I've worked with Darlene a couple times and it's been really beautiful and amazing. The energy shifting that occurs. It's very peaceful and uplifting. And I just so appreciate you being here today.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to have a conversation with you about spirituality and indigos and energy. It's all the funnest stuff on the planet.
Yes, I know. We both agree. So what got you into energy healing?
Well, it's what's really interesting is when I was a little girl, I saw things, I felt things, I saw images and outlines, and I really more than anything, was I felt there were other entities in a room with me. And of course, as a child, that can be pretty scary. And my brother, of all people, told me I was making things up. And, of course, a lot of us who have had experiences as children, we turn it off for whatever reason. So for years and years, I didn't pay any attention to it and pushed it aside. And then in 2005, I was given a diagnosis of cancer. And in the shock of all of that, I was visited literally by angels who just dropped into the room to help support and comfort me. And that was my awakening. So I went from preschool teacher to the angels are here to tell me there's more to my life than that. And it was time to get started. So they helped and supported me through the cancer experience. And that led me to Reiki, which is Reiki is often what a lot of healers start with. It's like the foundation for a lot of people. It's simple and it's beautiful Reiki energy healing. So that led me on my path of becoming a Reiki teacher myself, a Reiki practitioner, and sharing with others how to do the same. That we all have this capacity. It's in our human design to be self-healers and also to support one another. So that's how I got started.
It's a big journey. That is a big journey. You know, um, I believe that they even use Reiki in cancer um, centers, actually, for healing.
They certainly do. And what was really amazing, back in 2010, I was at a women's conference for business owners, and I met a woman whose mother was the first person in the States to start a Reiki program in a hospital setting. So Barnett was her last name, and it was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and she was a nurse, and she was actually the first person in the States that started a Reiki program within the hospital setting. Yeah, really cool, really beautiful story. And now there are Reiki practitioners around the country in different wellness settings. And it's a beautiful experience to witness the acceptance of more alternative or alternate or integrative experiences while people are going through some sort of chronic health condition. It helps to support the mind while the body is going through so much.
Yeah. That's interesting because my grandmothers both passed this last year, and the angels really kept instructing me to do Reiki long distance because because of COVID, I wasn't allowed to actually go visit. And so I would cleanse their space every day with Reiki and, do Reiki on their body. And the angels kept saying, it's really actually making a huge difference in the suffering and the pain that they were feeling, and it was alleviating a lot.
Oh, that's beautiful. It does, and it's palpable. I was in, after the surgeries and in the where I was waiting to heal. It was actually in a hotel room because I had to fly across the country to get my my surgeries. And I had my community praying for me, and they were sending me Reiki. You can feel it. If you're attuned to it or aware of it, let me say, you can feel it. So, like some people can feel a prayer, and it just washes right over you. So it's so amazing that energy works in that way, because most of us, especially in Western culture, we can't imagine that something like that is possible. It's because what science is, nothing is real unless you can see it.
Right.
So it's, guess what? It's very real.
Those like us who know that like this has kind of been a part of our sort of normal way of seeing things ever since we were kids. So, but it's available to everyone.
It absolutely is. And it's actually not even, it's not avoidable because we all are energy, and I always say we're all empaths, which, we can all feel and understand, not understand, but we can all get a sense of what somebody else is feeling in their bodies without even realizing it. Just being in the same room with someone, you can pick up on what they're feeling, whether it's anxiety or fear or even joy and happiness. We can feel the people around us, because energy picks up energy. So yeah, it's palpable whether we're aware of it or not, or want to believe it or not. It's happening.
You know, you do an energy uplift every Monday on Facebook.
I did start that, yeah.
Okay, so and when you were teaching preschool for 26 years, you were also doing energy uplifts for the kids in the class.
That I love that thought. So even I was doing it unconsciously for several years. My bosses all told me throughout, my career, that you just have this beautiful way of, the room you're in, no matter what the children are doing, you just bring this peace and calm to them. So I was doing it before I even knew I was. It's like you walk into a room and you can create the energy, the space that you're in. You feel it, you can create it. So when I did start back in 2005 in the preschool classroom, I did start using it intentionally. And it made a big difference in, the children, supporting them, if with those issues that you see oftentimes at a young age, like separation anxiety, behavioral issues, or if kids don't sleep well, or if their families are going through a lot. So yeah, I would start every morning with, we start circle together and let's get the energy set for the day. And yeah, so it was really cool when I started doing it with intention, with
Well, and I
awareness.
love that because it's like when the birds sing in the morning, and knowing that the morning time setting your intention is super powerful. It's like the time to like really set the stage
Yep.
for your energy throughout the day.
It's You're deciding what you want. You're deciding what you want your energy to be like for the day.
So it's a choice.
And yeah, and when you do set your intention, you're aware during the day when you're not doing it. So you have like a mini wake up call. Wait a minute. This isn't what I planned this morning. So it sets the tone, and it also brings you back home if you go off guard.
Mhm. It's kind of fun actually. Today is 12/12, right? So I had just realized that before we got on, and I was like, okay, that's amazing because that's like healers bringing light and healing energy to the world. And it's like through,
Right. It's definitely, it's bringing our attention to the portal that's available right now. And so the more of us who are aware of that portal and put intention on it, we actually bring in more of the light, and we can actually help. When we're aware of the portal, we can help to guide where we want the light to go.
it's powerful, actually. I mean, was just thinking, wow, this is a very powerful way to sort of, my intention with, Luminous Life podcast is to create that space where healers can come together and talk about, greater consciousness and healing energy for the planet. And it's something I'm so passionate about, and I know you are too. And it's just, I think we just, even though there's so many healers out there doing it, but there's so much that we can support our communities in small ways. More healers are needed.
And you know what? So not just that more healers are needed, but more healers, there's information available to them so they can hone in more on their gifts. So it's kind of like I'm getting the image of like a superhero first learning that he or she has these powers, and until you learn to control it, it's actually all over the place. So there are so many thousands and thousands, probably millions of healers, and we are being asked to actually look at what our gifts are and to really get a grasp of what we can do with them. So streamline them and have more intention with them and guide them with more purpose and awareness. So healers' energies aren't all over the place, because not all healers go through a system or a training where they learn that, like where they learn how to ground their energy. Some people just, we often wake up to our gifts and just go for it without, the support. And when I found I was doing that, I was having trouble grounding and focusing, and my energy was just scattering all over the place. So there are so many of us. It's important right now to find the ways to ground ourselves and to learn what it is we can do with our gifts and be more intentional with them. So I'm glad you brought that up.
That's powerful. I mean, I've gone through this journey myself. It's kind of a daily journey, honestly, because I can sense myself, if I do feel scattered in, certain part of the day, it's like bringing my energy back in, grounding the energy. It's, it's just a never ending journey.
It's always, it continues, and it's minute by minute, it's paying attention all day long, because we can let several days, we can get blindsided by life and sort of fall off our track. And so it's really important to have a daily practice, and then throughout the day, check in with yourself and your energy. So like the beginning of the day and the end of the day, absolutely, no question. Like not going to bed without clearing energy. That's so important.
Yeah, because we can pick up on so much when we're out and about, and we don't realize all the time even. But it's the way that I kind of catch myself is like, did my energy shift in a moment? Did I leave a building and all of a sudden my energy went from joyful to funky? Then I can kind of know, that's an indicator for me that I've used. And then also just, doing the healing work that I do, but going to a healer myself, is very important, I find, because if at any moment I feel too depleted or drained, or like too wonky, like you said, I will actually pursue clearing that if I don't feel like I want to, or, want to do it myself, right? Sometimes it's nice to have that connection to another healer. It's supportive.
It absolutely, because they can also see something that you might not be aware of. Yeah. Just like anything else, right? an opportunity or a possibility, and someone else outside of your circumstances can see something that you can't necessarily.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the indigo healing, because we're about the same age, where, right, that we both came in as indigos.
We
So it's
did.
right. So it's like, you know, oftentimes people misdiagnose indigos when they're children. You know, sometimes indigos can look like, they're very independent. They can look like they're not listening. They can be, right. They can look like they're very stubborn, but it's like they have kind of a higher knowing, right? So a higher awareness of a situation, and they're kind of less likely to deal with bullshit, I guess I would say.
Yep, absolutely. We can feel it. We see it. Our bodies. That's the beautiful thing about this particular life that we've chosen on this planet, because you don't always have a body in, particular incarnations. And here in this life, we get to have a body which tells us and shows us so much. And indigos, we tend to have a much more sensitive body than others. So we're constantly on alert. And it's more than just the nervous system. It's a little bit more than just being the typical human in fight or flight. We have, you know, what do they call them? Like spidey,
I like our
I can't,
the antenna.
yeah, our antennae are like are bigger than most. And because of that, yes, we have the knowing, and if we don't know we have this, it can cause a lot of frustration in our lives and in the relationships we have, because we're not always understood. And because we're so sensitive and more aware, we pick up more strongly on other people's energies, and collect those energies. And this is where it's so important to clear and be aware of, where we're going with our energy field. Because if we're indigo, we're going to be picking up on the collective. We're going to be picking up on the room we're in just so fast, and not just feeling, but actually keeping all of these other people's energies in our bodies. And there is this crossover where we start to, it clouds over which is ours and what energy belongs to somebody else's, and we start to think and feel as if it's our energy. And that's where a lot of times, people will be experiencing depression, anxiety. A lot of that is this overload, this overwhelm of not just their own energies, but all the energies that they're picking up on from other people. So what's really cool and important is, if you, at the end of every day, if you're indigo, if this feels like it's you, make sure you clear your energy, your body and your energy field every single night or all day long. I have to clear my energy all day long. And
What are some things you'd recommend to clear after?
I have, this is something, oh yeah. So, and also indigo people, we also have unusual aches and pains. So my body will tell me, and it took me a long time to figure this out. My body would tell me if I had too much of other people's energies that weren't mine by giving me headaches. I get these terrible pressure headaches in my head, mostly like in the right side, and it's, related to what I'm receiving. And something I just started doing a few months ago, and my migraines are pretty much gone because of this particular tool I started doing. So at the end of the day, I call in and I say, all energies that aren't mine, all energies that no longer serve me, that are in my body and in my energy field, go back to source and go back to sender. And I breathe and I blow up to source. I breathe and I blow up to source, and I breathe and blow up to source. And then this is the step that really stopped the migraines, because we're not aware of all of this. So I go to my solar plexus, which was here, and I pull out and I say, I unplug from all of my interactions I've had today, conscious and unconscious, and I unplug me from them. Because what happens is we connect. Like as soon as we make eye contact or have a thought of another person, we're immediately connected. So I unplug from all of my interactions from the entire day, conscious and unconscious, and I plugged me from them. And that was the key that ended my migraines. And that was just maybe 4 months ago.
That's
And I've had migraines for over 35 years.
wow. I mean,
So
yes, I mean, that is a phenomenal way to clear energy. You've taught me that tool and I've used it many times. I've done a lot of cord cutting through the years and um, a lot of different ways to clear energy. There's so many different ways, right? But it's like you're
so many.
the unconscious. I like the piece when you talk about the unconscious because if you bump into somebody at the store, you have a negative exchange,
Mm-hmm.
or, something, you're picking up on somebody's judgment about you or, right, their thought form about you. It's,
And I will tell you, it's not even just about us. If we walk past people having a conversation, we're going to pick up that energy. Like, say they're having an argument or someone is really sad and they're grieving. Just walking by somebody, even if we have nothing to do with their conversation, there's an energetic interaction there going on between our energetic bodies. So that's part of the unconscious, even if we're not part of the conversation.
yeah,
So yeah, that's
absolutely. I mean, and it makes me think and realize it's like we have to be very conscious about where we're going
that
in
too.
establishments we go to, what cafes, what places we frequent, because is it is it problematic, every time we go, or does it feel good, or
And that's that's definitely something like if you're indigo and not aware of it and you're wondering why you go in and out of places and you come out feeling horrible or anxious or tired. That was what I used to feel, but before I understood about indigos and energy, I would come out of just like a grocery store and feel exhausted. And now I realize it's because I'm extra sensitive, spidey senses, that's the word. And walking into a grocery store, you have hundreds of people whose energies, as an indigo, your energy, your body's going to be picking up on. So when you leave, not aware of what just happened, you're going to be exhausted because you have all these energies now following you, in your energy field, kind of like Pigpen from Snoopy, from Peanuts. If you just, yeah, as you walk along, you're picking up all of this dust and you continue wearing it and carrying it. And so indigo adults, that's something, if this is something you experience, it's because your body is extra sensitive to the energies around you. Now, what's the deal as far as what you can't, isolate? Who wants to, stay in their homes and no longer communicate with people? So it's about being intentional when you leave your house, being aware of it so that when you do go into those places, you stand tall and bright and light. I don't believe in those shielding, that it's kind of an older new age concept where you shield yourself before you go places. That doesn't work for me personally. What I do is I get bigger, I get brighter when I go into places like grocery stores or
take your band of angels with you.
that too, right? The angels and some crystal. I still wear crystals in my clothes. And I go out with intention and I go out with joy. And that seems to support and help. So like if I go into a big grocery store, I'm not afraid anymore. I don't go in thinking, oh my God, I'm indigo, I'm going to pick up all this crap. I go in there bigger and brighter. And my mindset or my intention is that I'm bringing light to the store rather than being afraid of what I'm going to pick up in the store. I started doing that just a few months ago too. I'm going to go here and spread the light rather than being in fear of what I might pick up.
Yeah.
That was fun too. That changed my life in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I will actually expand my energy out of like the space that I'm in, through the state that I'm in and like around the world. Cause it's like, it's kind of like smoothing that energy with people and the place that you live and all of that, kind of like saying, okay, my energy, I'm here. Like I'm a part of this, you know, this space, this place. And that sort of shifts for me. When I find that my aura is too like that, I'll expand it.
Yeah. And now for some people, what's really interesting is having learned that, in the modality where you and I learned that experience, some people feel if they're new to energy, that's too much for them to expand out. So what I do, I love teaching people how to gauge where they're going and what they're doing and to allow themselves and their bodies to create their own aura. Like, where is it that they feel comfortable and safe? So it's not too close and it's not too far out. And that's a matter of playing with it and practicing and going into places and allowing your energy to be more flowy than a tight shield or too big. So if that idea is kind of scary, going out like bigger than the state, just play with it, because it's going to take time before you get used to being big energy, because we're infinite. So oftentimes I work with people who we gradually work towards that. So if you're the in between, not ready yet to be too big with your energy, just practice playing with it, bringing it in and out. And you can do it just with your mind. You just go into the store and think, oh, I want to be as big as a car today. My energy field as big as a car, or a little smaller. Play with it. And it depends also on how you feel on any given day. Like, I want to be really big today, or I feel like I want to be a little smaller today. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really helpful. Like you're saying, like, especially with, highly sensitive children and who become adults who don't necessarily know that they're highly sensitive, who, I'd like to know more about, I think the indigo connection, with children as they age, especially ones who've been like misdiagnosed and given medications and labels like ADHD and autism and things like this that, now they're carrying with them as an adult, but it's actually just the fact that they're super sensitive.
Right. And they have they're overwhelmed by all the energy that's
How were
surrounding
you
them.
as a child, like in middle school and high school? What were you like?
I was painfully shy. I hated leaving the house. I had friends, which is surprising. But very, it is at the time. I had like a very close, like there was like 2 or 3 of us that, we were really close. And I always felt uncomfortable at parties or at school dances, just always out of my comfort zone. It was not pretty. It was not pretty at all.
I
So
was
you're actually,
I was similar. It was like, even though like I had close friends like you're saying, like you did, a couple, several. And like, but I always found myself wanting to be sort of on the outskirts of the school and never never feeling like I really wanted to even be in school. I was always sort of like, what am I doing here? Like I could be, sewing and making clothes, or I could be making jewelry, or you know what I mean? It was like I never felt like it was like the right space for me. And
Right.
I've kind of heard that about Indigo kids, as a lot of them feel like, and maybe it's true, that the typical education system isn't really geared for Indigo children, and the new kids on the block, like you were saying, the new kids on the block, or Indigos or
Well,
something else now, but the new sensitives that are coming in, it might not be the best choice. There could be other
yeah.
possibilities, like art school.
And they're definitely not understood, and there's really not space for them in the old fashioned education system. It doesn't leave room for anyone outside the box, but that's another podcast we can do. um, and that's where, you have to seek out other ways to support your child and their creativity and their uniqueness, because it's not likely that they would receive that in the classroom, with the way the system is set up now.
Instead of a
So
parent, like let's say a parent has a child who's like that, who might be acting out in certain ways, sometimes an Indigo could even look a little bit rebellious, right? And so it's like,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And so instead of saying, this is what's wrong with my child, well, what if it's something else? Like being more curious about that. Um, because I mean, we have such a huge population of people on medications
We
that are
do.
completely not for them, actually, and is destroying their bodies and their minds. And eventually, I mean, a lot of times these medications can turn on somebody, you know.
Yeah. There's different levels of and stages of particular illnesses. Um, and it's definitely a benefit if a parent who has a child that seems to be misbehaving get more than one suggestion, and explore what else can be going on, other than a child not fitting into somebody's list of rules, because the children who are here now, uh, definitely have a different way of thinking. They have a different way of processing information. There's actually more energy and more light, that the planet is at a different frequency or vibration than when the school system or any system was created. So a lot of times the behavior is the child energetically not fitting into wherever it is they are. Simply just being here on the planet, their energy isn't, um there's like a disconnect, and Indigo adults often feel the same way. So yeah, if there's somebody who's being told, or they themselves are having challenges, with their children's behavior, I would look also into alternative, um, resources, to see if that could help balance out what's going on, because the system isn't designed, the typical system isn't designed to be aware of that. So we can get both sides. It's always good and healthy to hear, several people's thoughts on the subject, and don't discount everything, and be open to everything. Yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, it's a huge topic, because I was around this little 2-year-old today, and I could feel his lightness. It was just so yummy, amazing. It was just so expansive, and it feels different. There's
It
a
does.
Yeah, there's
Like, I was in the classroom for almost 3 decades, and I
ah,
can tell you, year after year, the energy of the children, I felt and saw the difference in who was being born into the planet. And the back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, they were a denser energy, like the children just felt more secure and solid. And then as the years went on, the children were coming in with more light, and I can't even describe it, but just more of a rainbow type of energy. It was really cool, but I definitely saw the difference as the years went on and the energy of the kids being born. Yeah, they processed information differently. More and more children started to move. Like, so if you're in even a preschool classroom, most of the time they expect you to sit still, even at a young age. And these kids coming in back in the mid 2000s, they have to move and use all of their senses in order to process the information they're being taught. So they're kinesthetic. They got to move and use everything all at once. And for older people, it's distracting. Sit still. You can't hear me if you're moving around, when in essence, the newer kids need to move around so that they can bring the energies and the information to themselves. It's fascinating.
And don't you feel that way yourself even? I mean, right? For me, I have to dance, I have to do yoga, like all the stuff, right? Just to my energy is centered, like you're saying.
Yeah, right. We have to move to get centered. Rather than stay still and be grounded.
Yeah. Yeah. I am. So,
well, thank you. This has been such a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, I was wondering if you would take just a few minutes and do like an energy sort of clearing for us.
Okay, so I will actually walk us through that one that I was showing you before, because it has been the most transformational experience I've ever had as far as being able to clear my energy at the end of the day. Great. So I'm usually in the shower when I do this, because I shower before bed, and that helps to cleanse the energies from the day. So I close my eyes and I put my hands on my heart, and I say, all energies that are not mine and that no longer serve me, that are in my head and in my body and in my energy field, on all timelines, dimensions, and realities, I ask that you now go back to source and go back to sender. I unplug from all of my interactions I had today, conscious and unconscious, and I unplug me from them. Thank you, and it is so. And it's as simple and fast as that. And there has been nothing in my 54 years that has ever worked so quickly and effectively. That's it. It
was instantaneous.
It was. Yep. Like every cell goes, okay. Yep. And then what I do when I do this, I'm usually near a window. So I'm sending the energy out that window and imagining it going to source. Yeah.
Love that. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Gosh, it's been so nice having you on.
Thank you, Allie. It's been a pleasure to be here having this conversation.
Where you can find Darlene. Okay, she does this your Monday boost on Facebook, right? Okay,
I do.
So cool. I highly recommend it. It gets that, your week going, right? In the right direction. The intention behind that. You can find Darlene at, is it Indigo Healing?
Well, what Indigo Healings, pdx.com. And also if you go to Linktree, Darlene Energy Detective, you can find me there too.
I like that, Energy Detective. That's my alley.
And then my Facebook group that you were just talking about, I'm there every Monday and other days, but Mondays for the energy lift is Healers Awaken Your Potency on Facebook.
It's so necessary and it's so fun to play with you and work with you.
I love it. I love being with you too. Thank you.
Okay, big hugs, and we'll talk again. And have a wonderful day in the snow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being on Luminous Life. We'll see you. Bye, darling.